You know what you should do? You should follow me on Twitter at Brommer018. Link in the description. Do it now. What is going on, guys? Brommer18 here, and today we're going to be taking a look at another set of tactics. In this series, what we do is we not only recreate real life systems, but I also adapt them so that they will actually work in FIFA 20. I'll show you how to recreate them in game. We've covered a lot, but today we will be talking about Arrigo Sacchi's AC Milan system, the 4-4-2, notorious for its attacking mentality. Quite a few people have the argument that this is in fact the greatest team ever to grace the earth. Not Guardiola's Barcelona, not Johan Cruyff's Barcelona, not the Puskas Real Madrid Galacticos, but in fact this Real Madrid side. And you know, I do think there is a point to that argument, to be honest, and it's certainly a debate that will rage on for a very long time, but this team should not be underestimated. Of course, what will we do today? As we always do, is I'll show you the formation, we'll go through the player instructions as well, and also the tactics. So first of all, a couple of position changes. What we're doing first, we're going to bring in these fullbacks a little bit. What you'll find is when you change systems in this, for some reason it gets them out wide a lot, and just to try and get that narrow aspect, you want to bring them in to you know, the regular fullback positions. So you've got that real flat 4-4-2. But speaking of flat, we're actually going to change it to holding, or I've already selected holding, rather than the 4-4-2 flat. And the reason being is I'll go into detail a bit more about it as we get on into the video, but the predominant reason is that you're trying to not only offer protection to your fullbacks, sorry, not fullbacks, your centre backs, but also you're trying to make a team more compact, and you get the midfielders and the defence closer to each other if they're holding midfield. Plus, like we say, we do adapt these systems so that they will actually work in FIFA. So rather than having them as flat, you have them as holding. It just gives you a bit more protection, because in FIFA you tend to find there's so much space for the opposition to run into, and your defence gets opened up quite a lot. So that's it for formations and positions. Now we can move on to the player instructions. What we'll do is I'll work our way up as we go. So in terms of the keeper, first of all, you want comes to crosses. It will just relieve the pressure. You know, corners and crosses in general, fairly hard to defend on the game. So if your keeper being a bit more active-minded, it does just relieve some of the pressure off you. In terms of saving outside the box now, the tactic itself, sweeper keepers weren't as much of a thing in those days, but because you are going to be playing such a high line, you want to change him to sweeper keeper as well, just to give you that extra layer of protection behind your back line, because people will be trying to get in behind. In terms of the two centre-backs, keep them the same, and despite the nature of the high pressing system, we are going to keep interceptions on normal. I did release a video yesterday as of recording this on how to sort of combat stamina issues in FIFA 20, and one of them was to, unless specified, keep interceptions on normal to prevent stamina draining. So we are going to keep at that in this system as well. So moving on to the fullbacks, what you want is you want join the attack and overlap. Now what you tend to find, and we'll talk about the midfielders shortly, the wingers would actually come inside a whole lot more and sort of form a narrow four in a lot of moments and situations, and that's because, of course, you're only playing, because you're playing a 4-4-2 rather than say like a 4-5-1, a 4-3-3, you're less crowded in the central areas, and to try and, you know, present those options to your centre midfielders, to the centre backs as you're playing out from the back, the wingers would come inside, and that gives license for the fullbacks to then overlap, and you still maintain that width when you need to do so. So if you keep them on, well, you put them on join the attack and overlap, you should be okay. Moving on to the holding midfielders, these are the combination of Carlo Ancelotti and Frank Rijkaard, of course, such a renowned global force and powerhouse in that centre midfield. So first of all, you have two different roles depending on the midfielder. It doesn't really matter which way around you get it. It will when you come to the strikers. So let's just say, for example, the right-sided centre midfielder is the Carlo Ancelotti role, in which case he was less of a box-to-box man. He's more your deep-line playmaker slash your aggressive midfielder, very all-rounded player, and you're going to try and replicate this. So you want him to stay back while attacking first and foremost. He'll offer that blanket, that extra layer of protection, and that couples with the fact that you want him to cover the centre as well. Of course, only two central midfielders, so you want both central midfielders to cover the centre. In terms of defensive behaviour, what we're actually going to go is we're going to go with cut passing lanes, and the reason being is that you're sort of trying to complement the press. So with that, you're actually Whilst one goes to, the other sort of blocks all options for the player on the ball in the opposition, and therefore just sort of leaves them stranded in the middle and makes the press more efficient. And that was very much the system and the thinking behind the sort of pressing. And you're going to have the same from the other midfielder as well. This would of course been Rijkaard. You want him to cut passing lanes and also to cover centre as well. But in terms of attacking support, there is going to be a difference. You want him to get forward. He's more that box-to-box man, as I say. I remember, in fact, the European Cup final against Benfica. What happened is because the centre-backs were marking the strikers so tightly. I remember watching an interview with Arrigo Sacchi where he said, what we did is we got one of them to drop off, and then Rijkaard, would advance forward. And therefore you have that false nine type replication in terms of the tactics. So you want him to be that box-to-box man, and as it says with get forward, he will make runs beyond the strikers. So that is perfect. So you've got the back four and the two centre midfielders sorted. Now we move on to the wingers. First of all, on the left, you'd have generally Colombo, really. So first of all, come back on defence. That's very self-explanatory. You don't need me to go through that. And then in terms of chance creation, you actually want him to cut inside. Now, we've already alluded to it, and I can expand on it a little bit more here. Both wingers, because of the fact you've only got two central midfielders, the formation can, of course, be played through very easily. So they'll come into the middle and bring those options to the centre midfielders, to all the central players, and therefore you do have an option to play short possession football while still maintaining the whole runners off the ball with the fullbacks, maybe another winger, the strikers as well. So you can still got that sort of vertical passing emphasis, but you can go both ways as well. So it's very varied and very versatile. So cut inside on that one. But then in terms of support runs, you actually want this on balanced. And the reason being is that, like I say, it's varied. It's situational. So in some moments, in some situations, some games, whether it depends on it or not, they might stay wide. Or they might try and, say, penetrate the opposition defence. Maybe they've got a high line, they want to exploit their pace. So you want it on balanced, and therefore you've got the best of both worlds. In terms of support on crosses, you want him to get into the box. And this is very, very important. You want 4 or 5 options in the box. Crossing was a big part of the system and the tactic, and you tend to find a lot of their goals were scored from those wide situations. So you want him to get into the box, and he just provides another option. In terms of on the right, you have Donadoni, in this case, a very pacey and direct winger. What a quality player he was, and it's fairly similar in terms of the instructions. You want him to come back on defence. You also want him getting into the box for cross as well, and you want him on cut inside, but you can be a little bit more varied with this should you choose to. Could just have him on balance, because you would find Donadoni would be less likely to come inside. He was very much at his best out on the wing and very dangerous as well, and you see a lot more in that play. So you can keep that on balance. I would prefer to have him cut inside, because of course you won't be playing with Donadoni in this. You'll have your own winger depending on who your team is, who you're playing as. So you just want to try and make sure that the system complements itself in each way. So with the right back as well, he can overlap and you've got that option. But like I say, you can have this unbalanced should you prefer. Elsewhere though, everything is the same. Come back on defence and get into the box for the cross as well. Moving on to the strikers now, we have 2 different roles. And the reason why it's important to choose one over the other is as follows. Now, say for example, you've got the deep line playmaker, the sort of more defensive midfielder on the right. Then you want this guy to be on the left, and that is the false 9, because if he's going to be making runs in behind this box-to-box midfielder, then you want someone to offer that layer of protection just in case, you know, should you lose a ball, or also because he will be the one overlapping the false 9. So wherever your box-to-box midfielder is, you want the false 9 on that side as well. So in this case, we're going to have the left-sided striker as a false 9. And then, as we've already spoke about, what happens is of course the defenders will follow him, and then it gives the option for players, not only the box-to-box midfielder, also the likes of the wingers and stuff, the left midfielder, to also overlap and get in beyond him, and also the other striker as well. You want him also to stay central, of course. Very, very wide the tactic was due to the width that the fullbacks and sometimes the wingers would create as well. And as a result, you need that central emphasis. So you get that from the strikers. So both of these will be staying central. And in terms of defensive support, you want one of the strikers coming back, and it should be the false 9, because of course he's naturally going to be deeper and therefore he won't have to cover as much ground. Whereas your other striker is going to be that out ball and is going to be that front outlet when looking to counter on teams and hit them on the break. We'll move on to that striker now as well. So you want him to stay central again. You've got that emphasis down the middle. But this time, rather than false nine, he will get in behind. So he penetrates the defence by getting in behind and utilising his pace. And he's got to be a very pacey striker to bear that in mind. Marco van Basten was very fast and very underrated in terms of his pace. In terms of defensive support, like I say, you want him to stay forward. He's that outlet and that out ball when you win the ball, say, in your defensive third. So that would round it off for the play instructions. We now move on to the tactics. First of all, with defence, what you're actually going to do here is press after possession loss rather than constant pressure. And the reason being is because you're playing such an open 4-4-2 in terms of attacking. Should you lose a ball, it could leave you very open through the middle, and people do underrate the defensive nature of this team. Very compact, very hard to break down, and very structured. But as a result, because of the way FIFA is, and it's so easy to exploit the gameplay, you actually want to change this from constant pressure to press after possession loss. So it means that players will drop back a little bit more and will be a little bit more compact. In terms of width, this is something that was a big feature of this team. Very narrow width. Again, it would stop teams playing through them, and because you're playing a 4-4-2 rather than having 3 central midfielders, it can be easier for teams to play through you. So that's why it's so important to have such a narrow team, and therefore they've got to go around you, which will be harder for them because you're playing 2 men down the wing. So you want that on 2, and then in terms of depth, you want to move this up to 10. Now, it's also a very high line, but what's important is that it's very compact. So what I mean by that is that the defence and the strikers will be very close to each other. So it's all within say a 20-25 yard space of each other. So again, it's very much about working in conjunction with each other. Everyone has got a fluid role and can do both areas of the field very competently. So if you move this up to 10, yes, you might have a problem with teams moving in behind, but you've got to address that. You've got to find pacey players. Of course, in this team they had lots of Costa Curta, Baresi and Maldini, etc. Very pacey players and also very intelligent players. And the offside trap is something that you are going to have to utilise to the max, and that is pressing down on the D-pad twice during games so that when you think teams are going to play in behind you, you got to utilise that offside trap and try and catch them out. So it's going to be very risky. You will have to take some time to get used to it, but it can be done, and it can be done very effectively as well. So we move on to offensively with the ball now. What you're going to do is you're actually going to go with possession, and the reason being is that really it's balanced, but the problem is with balanced on FIFA is that they just don't quite react to the situations well enough. So if you have this on possession, yes, you're going to find players a little bit closer to each other, but the way we're going to sort of override this is by increasing the width, and we're going to do that by moving it up to 7. Therefore, whilst you've still got short passing options, you are going to create more of that width, and that was such an important element to this AC Milan team and the system itself. And then couple that with players in the box as well. You're going to move this up to 8. It's already on 8 for me, so that is okay. And like I say, you've got the 2 strikers. You'll have a box-to-box mid and one of the wingers as well, whereas the other one's probably crossing in the ball. And therefore, it gives you the options around about 4. You're not storming too many players into the box. It's important to keep it at that level so the likes of Ancelotti or whoever your deep line playmaker is going to be less likely to try and storm into the box and to leave you open on the counter-attack and all that space in behind your attacking players. So round about 8 will do just fine. Finally, with corners and free kicks, set pieces in general, what we always do on these videos is we move this up to 4. And the reason being is that then it gives you enough options in the box to actually pose as a threat, but you'll still leave about 2 men back. And that is more than enough because the opposition will very rarely leave more than 1 player up front. So 2 men should be more than enough to counteract any sort of attacking threat from their defensive set pieces. So that would just about round it off for this video then, guys. Do let me know if you've got any questions even whatsoever about the tactic, and I'll be sure to answer them. One thing I would say is, if you want to get used to this tactic, you should really start offline, start on the likes of career mode, etc., or kickoff, because it is it can be very open if you don't get it right. And so if you're playing competitive online games on Ultimate Team, seasons, etc., it can get exploited. So you've got to get used to it, and as a result, I think you should start this on the likes of career mode and get used to it, and then you can see how it goes. But it is a very, very wonderful tactic to play with, that is for sure. It's attacking minded and based on scoring goals and constantly just generating threats. So particularly if you play this on career mode, and it is something we're gonna look to implement into the AC Milan series, then you know, you'll have a lot of fun with it, that is for sure. So we're going to finish it off there, guys. If you've enjoyed the video, please do leave a like, let me know you're enjoying it, and most importantly, subscribe to the channel and ring the bell so that you get notifications every time I upload. Don't forget to check out my other series, the AC Milan Career Mode, currently ongoing on FIFA 20, and also all my other FIFA 20 tactics videos as well. And on that note, we are going to round the video off there. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.